Gemini, welcome to your monthly horoscope for March 2024. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, I will be going over all of the significant energies you will be moving through for the month of March. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. Now, let's get right into it. As you can see, I have selected a chart for each week to give you a bit of a visual on the right hand of the side, and on the left side, I've listed all the transits per week. Now, I do want to cover some energies that we are moving out of, kind of coming into March, like that Venus Mars conjunction, which took place mid February, right here in your ninth house in Aquarius, and that Mercury Cazimi that took place with Saturn in Pisces in your 10th house of career and public reputation the last week of February. This could have been huge realizations, insight, clarity when it has to do with your direction that you're wanting to take in life, because Mercury is your chart ruler. This could be completely shifting and changing your career in some way. And almost this can be like real epiphany energy and just completely changing your life direction and what you want. Now, Saturn takes roughly 29 years to transit the zodiac. So I kind of look at this almost as a 30-year completion, like a 30-year cycle almost coming to an end in a certain area of our life. And for you, it is your 10th house, but because this conjunction is with the sun, Mercury, and Saturn, it can also just have something to do with you and who you are and what you want and the direction that you're moving in, because Mercury is your chart ruler. So I would love to hear your stories and how this showed up for you in the comments below, just for my own research purposes. But this could have been major clarity and insight and change when it has to do with your career, what you want within your career, completely changing your career in some way, or completely reinventing yourself, to be honest. With what you want, what you need, and the direction that you want to move in. Now, on March 1st, we're going to have the Sun sextile Jupiter and Venus sextile Chiron. So Venus at this point is still in Aquarius, forming a sextile to Chiron. And we're also, coming off of that North Node Chiron conjunction that we were in for 2 weeks throughout February, which was bringing up major healing energy. We are all going through this like major transformation internally when it has to do with who we are and certain aspects of ourselves that it's almost like a lot was coming to the surface of parts of us that we did not even realize were still hurt or had trauma within. And a lot was kind of coming up for us to move through and heal. So it no longer holds us back in some way. So when we have Venus sextile Chiron, this really is beautiful support coming in to help with this healing process. Now, the sun sextile Jupiter can feel great because the sun is our life force energy, and forming a sextile to Jupiter can bring in major support, opportunity, insight towards maybe this new direction that you're taking within your career or the new direction that you've decided to move in life. Now, on the second, we will have Venus square Uranus, and this is where we do want to watch, just generally speaking, with our finances, something possibly showing up around finances. Venus rules your fifth house and is also currently that ruler of the south node. So, having Venus and the south node in that fifth house, there's already a lot of changes going on in this area of life. And the fifth house rules children, creativity, passion, romance, hobbies, interests, everything you enjoy in life and do for fun is in that fifth house. And there's a lot of changes taking place there over this year with the lunar nodes transiting. The south node can really indicate either something coming back from the past or having to release and let something go that is just no longer in alignment. And the north node represents a new direction we're moving into. This is something new. The nodes are very faded, very karmic energy. And so when we have the nodes transiting our birth chart, the houses are going, those areas of life are going through changes. And so having Venus being the ruler of that south node squaring Uranus can bring something very sudden to the table that we're having to let go of, we're having to release, or we're having to navigate in some way. It could even, again, bring something back from the past. Now, Venus is also the ruler of your 12th house. So And the 12th house has to do with endings, karma, self-undoing, self-sabotaging. Also is a very spiritual house, and that is where Uranus is currently sitting. So there could be, I even just felt intuitively there could be some type of like energy block or a stop or a hold to something that you're trying to kind of move through at this time. Now, on the 8th, we're going to have Mars square Uranus, and this is going to be pretty big. This is definitely going to be something we feel collectively, individually, because Mars is the ruler of the North Node right now, and you're the ruler of your 11th house, and also the co-ruler of your 6th house. There can be something unexpected, disruptive that you're having to move through around, the 6th house, which is your work, health, and daily routine, pets, and your 11th house, which is friends and friendships, social groups, online connections, your group associations, people that you're attached to. So there can be something very disruptive, chaotic that you're having to kind of navigate around that first week of March, especially around the 8th. Now, we'll also have Mercury conjunct Neptune and the Sun sextile Uranus, which is interesting because the Sun sextile Uranus is bringing in some support to the Mars square to Uranus. So it's almost like the Mars square to Uranus can feel really intense, and having Mars in your 9th house, like I would not suggest traveling at this time just because Mars is in that 9th house. The 9th house rules long distance travel, higher education, higher knowledge, philosophy, belief systems. So, this Mars square to Uranus can also have to do with those themes and topics as well. But whatever is showing up with this Mars square, leaning on the Sun sextile is going to help kind of navigate. It's like bringing this insight or opportunity or support in to help navigate that square. And again, it could be a block, a hold, a stop to something. So it can be really disruptive, the Mars square to Uranus. So it is a transit we all want to just be cautious of. And again, I would not recommend traveling at this time. Mercury conjunct Neptune can be where we're just not there's no mental clarity at this time. Neptune can make things very confusing, very cloudy, and Mercury being your chart ruler and also ruling our mind, communication, our thoughts, there can just be a lot of confusion with, what do I do now? What direction am I supposed to be moving in with that Mercury conjunction to Neptune? Now, on the 9th, Mercury is going to enter Aries. So Mercury enters your 11th house, which does shift the energy quite significantly because Mercury does not do the greatest in Pisces. But with Mercury and Aries, this is where now we start to have that mental focus, that mental clarity, and we want to go, but we do want to watch for his impulsiveness and just initiating too fast. But there is more clarity kind of coming in. And as we move through March, we have to keep in mind that that Mercury is going to station retrograde, that we're going to have a Mercury retrograde in Aries right over top of Chiron and the North Node. So there's going to be a lot of rethinking and reevaluating life direction and what we truly need, want, and desire on a very karmic fated level. Having that, a Mercury is literally going to station direct at 15 degrees right on top of that North Node, later on in April. But Mercury stations retrograde April 1st. So once we get to mid March, we start to enter this Mercury retrograde energy, Mercury pre-shadow, which we'll get into. But this is the last month where we have all planets direct. So we really want to take advantage of the first couple of weeks of March to implement and start moving forward while we still have that supportive energy and get things in place so that when all planets start to retrograde, we've already put everything into motion. That we want kind of for the year. Now, on the 10th, we're going to have our new moon in Pisces and Mercury sextile Pluto. So the new moon in Pisces is going to be at, hold on, let me just check. I believe it's at 20 degrees, the new moon in Pisces. And this is essentially when we start to enter eclipse season because we do have a lunar eclipse at the end of March in Libra. And we'll get into all that energy. But once we hit that new moon, we start to enter eclipse season because it's the previous lunar cycle. Now, this is where we start to feel energies become more intense and more heavy. And for you, because the nodes are in, the fifth and the 11th house, whatever changes are taking place when it has to do with children and creativity and passion, pleasure, play, hobbies, romance, all of that stuff, and your friends and friendships and groups and associations and who you want to be connected to, this is where things can start to come to the surface. And I always say, like, when we're talking about eclipses and we're talking about um like the nodes, I look at this as a story playing out over 18 months because the nodes take roughly 18 months to transit the signs. And or to transit each sign. So the nodes are in a sign for about 18 months. So we've had the nodes in Aries and Libra since July of 2023, and they will be in Aries and Libra till the beginning of 2025. So we have them in this area of our chart for the entire year of 2024. Now we had our first solar eclipse in Libra back October 14th of 2023. So there would have been something started, something beginning in this area of life. And basically, every time we have an eclipse, there's more to that story coming up, whether it's more that you have to release and let go of, more coming back from the past, but there's more to the story that is playing out in this area of life. Now, with the new moon in Pisces, this is a great time to set intentions for your career, your public reputation. But we will start to feel at this point, whatever the eclipse is bringing up for us, we'll start to kind of feel that with the new moon in Pisces. Then we get to the second week of March, and on the 11th, we have Venus entering Pisces, and we have Saturn there. So Venus is exalted in Pisces. She does very well in Pisces. But now we have Saturn, the planet of commitment, responsibility, accountability, life lesson, learning life lessons and karmic energy. And so it's really interesting what this can bring, but there's definitely a lot of focus on your career and life direction and public reputation at this time. And what you want to be known for out in the world, and having Venus in this 10th house, there can be a lot of change possibly, maybe wanting a new direction, or maybe whatever that Mercury Saturn Sun Cazimi brought up for you, there's more desires around that. But there's definitely a lot more focus on your career and public reputation. And then on the 16th and 17th, we're going to have the Sun conjunct Neptune. And this can be really great for intuition, spirituality. There can be some confusion with, what we want. There can be something very confusing going on around your career and public reputation because it is in that 10th house. Then once we get to week 3, on the 18th, we're going to have Mercury conjunct the North Node, which is when Mercury enters pre-shadow, because Mercury is going to retrograde back to that 15 degrees. So as soon as Mercury forms a conjunction to the North Node and enters pre-shadow, this is when we want to start to pay attention to what is showing up for us, because we will be navigating this energy for, the next month or so while Mercury is pre-shadow, retrograde, and then post-shadow. So pay attention to what's showing up before Mercury stations retrograde, because you will be rethinking the themes and topics that have shown up for you. There's going to be a rethinking, reevaluating, all of those RE words that are associated with Mercury. And then there will be clarity after Mercury stations direct during the post shadow, once we get to later on in April, which I'll cover in next month's forecast. But we want to start paying attention at this time, the 18th of March, to what is showing up, because you will be in that energy for the next month or so. Now, on the 19th and 20th, we'll have the Sun enter Aries. So things start to speed up. Aries is a very fast sign. Aries is ruled by Mars. So we are also getting closer to the eclipse energy is starting to intensify as well at this point, because we're going to have a solar eclipse in Aries. And then, we're having the lunar eclipse in Libra, and then the solar eclipse in Aries come April. But once the Sun enters Aries, it's amping up that eclipse energy. It's getting ready. So, whatever that solar eclipse is going to bring for us, we're going to start to feel it. And that one is going to be very intense. So we're going to start to feel this. This is in your 11th house of friends and friendships, social groups, online connections. So you do want to watch your connections online. You do want to watch social media, what you're posting, stuff like that, because it could be quite intense at this time. But yeah, we want to start to pay attention to what is kind of bubbling to the surface and showing up in our reality because it's something we're navigating, for the next month or so. Then once we get to, oh, also on the 20th, we have Mercury conjunct Chiron as well. And so that could be, some really powerful insight around healing. And remember that Mercury is going to retrograde over Chiron. So we're also through this Mercury retrograde energy rethinking life direction, but we're in so much karmic energy right now of karmic changes, karmic endings, karmic beginnings. Like there's so much energy at this time. We are all transforming on such a deep, powerful level right now, doing some really deep inner healing that is completely changing the trajectory of our lives. And this is where there can be more clarity and insight around that. Now, on the 21st, we're going to have Venus conjunct Saturn. So that's going to be really interesting. Venus rules your 12th house and your fifth house. And also, which I already covered, I don't want to repeat myself, but Venus ruling that south node, there could be something completing at this time, something that you have a final understanding of what needs to be let go of, what needs to be released, or there can be some type of commitment formed here because Saturn does rule commitment. And so this could also have to do with your work and your career. There could be some type of solid commitment formed here within a career. Maybe signing on the dotted line for something or deciding to, change or take a position within your career, something along those lines. Then on the 22nd, we have Mars entering Pisces. So Mars is ruling all of this Aries energy. And when Mars is in Pisces, that kind of slows Mars down a little bit. Like Mars rules our motivation, our willpower, drive. And Pisces is this very mutable, watery energy. And so when Mars is in Pisces, it's kind of dumbing down the almost like suppressing the motivation, the will in a little bit. It's not allowing Mars to amp up to full capacity, but it's also making things very confusing and difficult for how we want to take action and the direction that we want to move in. So we want to keep that in mind too with Mars and Pisces. But Mars being in your 10th house, you could be very busy at work at this time, or there can be conflict going on within your job. Or public reputation of some kind. So you do want to be mindful of that. And then on the 25th, we will have the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra. And like I already previously mentioned, this is in your fifth house of children, creativity, passion, romance, pleasure, hobbies, interests, everything you do for fun and everything you enjoy is in that fifth house. And so, you're changing those themes and topics at the moment. You're kind of like getting rid of what you no longer, want in your reality in some way and changing what makes you happy, kind of, and what you want to do as far as hobbies and interests and even romance and romantic connections in some way. Now, what was that? Oh, yeah. So the solar eclipse was October 14th, which something started in this area of life. So think back to October. What were you moving through when it has to do with, your hobbies, your interests, children, those themes and topics? There's more to the story coming in. This can also be some type of completion or something coming to fruition because it is a full moon, which is a culmination point. There can be a final releasing and letting go of something because it is that south node. It can be something coming back from the past. So I would love to hear your eclipse stories in the comments below, but there is more to the story for whatever showed up and whatever you were moving through back in October of 2023. Now, on the 27th, we're going to have Venus sextile Uranus. So this can bring in some really unexpected insight, or some really unexpected support. With that Venus sextile, because remember, Uranus can bring in this disruption, chaos, unexpectedness to whatever is kind of, showing up. And Venus being in your 10th house of career, this could be some type of very unexpected position, unexpected, something within your career that you're moving through. Or because Venus rules that south node, it could be something very unexpected showing up And also keep in mind that with sextiles, this is an energy where we have to take action. This is not like a trine where it's just this easy flowing energy that comes in. This is something that we have to take action on. And so, pay attention around that 27th, what is showing up with that sextile, because there can be, some really beautiful, unexpected support coming in. So, Gemini, I hope that this helps you kind of get an idea of the energy that you're moving through for the month of March. Thank you so much for joining me. I would love to hear your eclipse stories in the comments below. And I would also love to hear how that Mercury, Kazemi, Saturn energy showed up for you that last week of February. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. And I will connect with you in the next one.